are not happy with Harley Davidson, and I wouldn't be either.
Harley Davidson is using that as an excuse, and I don't like that. And I think the people that ride Harleys are not happy with Harley Davidson, and I wouldn't be either. Harley Davidson just went bankrupt after Donald Trump accused them of betraying patriotic customers for profit. The iconic American brand tried to go global and woke, and it backfired hard. Now the damage is done, and Harley's stuck between preserving its traditional identity and chasing innovation it clearly doesn't understand. Trump went off saying Harley's just using excuses to justify sending jobs and production overseas. Not even a sugar-coated insult, just straight up calling them out for betraying the same leather-clad biker base that worship those bikes like gospel. And the worst part, he's not entirely wrong. He literally said that Harley's surrender to foreign markets would be the beginning of the end. And I mean, if you're Harley and you hear that from a guy who ran a whole campaign on Made in America, yeah, you're probably sweating bullets. And not just because of the exhaust fumes. He painted them like traitors to their own people. Like the brand decided, you know what? Let's ditch the people who kept us alive for over a century. And yeah, over a century. Harley's been around since 1903, that's older than sliced bread. And yet somehow in 2025, they managed to turn that legacy into a drama of bad decisions and global detachment. Because here's the deal, people don't just buy Harley bikes, they buy a lifestyle. A full-blown ride into the sunset with a bald eagle on your shoulder kind of thing. But suddenly that lifestyle got slapped with a Made in Thailand sticker, and guess what? People weren't thrilled. Well, tonight the president going even further, saying Harley Davidson motorcycles should never be built in another country, and he's now threatening them with new taxes. And speaking of Thailand, that's where it all spiraled. So, after Trump kicks off his whole America First trade war with steel and aluminum tariffs, Harley's response wasn't to double down on U.S. jobs. Oh no. They opened a shiny new plant in Thailand in 2018, trying to dodge the blowback from EU retaliation. They tried to spin it as cost-saving and strategic, but let's be honest, that translation reads, we're trying to save money and not piss off our European customers. But you think Harley just quietly packed up a few bolts and sneaked overseas? Nope. They closed their plant in Kansas City, scaled up production in York, Pennsylvania just for show, and then went full throttle, expanding in Brazil and India too. It's like they threw a dart at a globe and said, anywhere but here. Now, back to Trump. He wasn't having any of that. He straight up warned them, leave the US, and the aura will be gone. He basically said Harley will be taxed like never before if they dared to sell back into the US after outsourcing. Oh, and let's not forget the cherry on top. Those bikes made in Thailand, they weren't just for other markets, they were assembled there, for US customers too. That's the part that really set off the hardcore Harley crowd. You sell us foreign-built bikes while waving an American flag. Yeah, good luck with that. And then came the next punch. Trump's good old trade war. Remember when he said, companies are now coming back to America? Yeah, Harley heard that and said, cool, we're going to Thailand. And Trump wasn't having it. He blasted India for their 100% plus import tariffs on American bikes, basically calling out the whole international game Harley was trying to play. But Harley didn't flinch. They said the numbers don't lie. It's just arithmetic, not politics, just math, they claimed. Except their customers weren't buying calculators. They were buying culture. And culture doesn't like being outsourced. Let's talk numbers for a second. Because right after Trump dragged Harley through the mud publicly, guess what happened? Harley's stock tanked like a rock tied to a brick. Investors started to sweat. The brand's whole identity, this cool, rebellious ride-or-die image, suddenly looked like a watered-down corporate press release written from a Thai boardroom. And it's not even the first time Harley hit the panic button. Back in the 1980s, they were getting whooped by cheap Japanese imports. The only thing that saved them back then, the US government stepped in with tariffs to protect them, and they started pushing quality and American craftsmanship. Fast forward to now, same crisis, different flavor. This time, it's not about Japanese bikes. It's about a company losing its soul while trying to keep up with global markets, rising costs, and a customer base that just wanted their damn bikes made in Milwaukee. But here's the twist. This whole mess isn't just about Trump being loud or Harley being tone-deaf. It's about a massive, loyal customer base that feels like they got played. They bought into the Harley myth, the roar, the pride, the Americana. And in return, Harley gave them electric bikes, international plants, and a bunch of excuses wrapped in a press release. Trump didn't invent the backlash, he just lit the match. And when he tweeted, "Harley won't be able to sell back into the US without paying a big tax," you could almost hear the collective scream from Harley's PR team. Because once that message got out, it wasn't just a political issue anymore. It became a cultural war, a battle of identity. And that's something Harley clearly didn't calculate in their so-called arithmetic. So now Harley's not just a motorcycle brand anymore. Apparently, it's a political football. And Trump, he drop-kicked it straight into the middle of the culture war. He called their global shift part of the wider woke corporate disaster sweeping America. And let's be honest, once he used the word woke, it was game over for Harley with half of their own customer base. Suddenly, your dad's favorite bike brand is being lumped in with gender-neutral oat milk lattes and ESG scorecards. Great job, Harley. And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown of the Harley meltdown, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what we expose next. And their loyal customers, not impressed. We're talking about veterans, factory workers, folks who wear leather not as a fashion statement, but because it's what you wear when you're out there putting miles on asphalt. These people didn't want electric scooters or futuristic dashboards, they wanted rumble power and American muscle. But Harley said, "Let's go green and go global." And that message landed like a flat tire in Sturgis. And then there's Trump's base. Many of them watched their jobs vanish as companies offshored production to chase cheaper labor. So when Trump stood up and said Harley put profits over patriotism, it stuck. It hit a nerve. Not because it was some genius analysis, but because it said out loud what everyone else was already thinking. People who had been loyal to Harley for decades suddenly saw it as a sellout brand that traded in its soul for tax write-offs and export opportunities. But this backlash, it wasn't just about dollars and cents. Analysts straight up said it. This was emotional. People grew up with Harley, passed it down like family heirlooms. These bikes weren't just transportation, they were identity. Harley represented American exceptionalism to millions. It was blue jeans on chrome and then boom, foreign plants, electric pivots, sustainability hashtags. It was like watching your old school biker grandpa show up at Thanksgiving in skinny jeans and a Tesla truck. Harley's empire was built on ruggedness and rebellion. Now it's being rebuilt on renewable energy and inclusive design. And listen, we're not saying innovation is bad, but when your core demographic has back tattoos that say live to ride, ride to live, and you're selling them a silent EV with an app, it's not innovation, it's confusion. So what's Harley doing to fix this identity crisis? Well, apparently they're going all in on electric, because nothing says badass like a bike that hums like a toothbrush. They're trying to preserve that legendary Harley roar by engineering synthetic engine noises. Yes, fake sounds because nothing screams rebellion like pre-programmed audio. You rev the throttle and your speakers growl. Revolutionary. The whole goal here is to snag younger riders from around the globe while somehow keeping their old-school American fan base from storming the dealerships with torches and pitchforks. The problem? Young people don't want to drop tens of thousands on a motorcycle when they can't even afford rent. And the older crowd, they're not exactly lining up to download Bluetooth updates for their handlebars. Harley's skating on the world's thinnest cultural ice. But wait, it gets better. They're now talking about partnering with tech firms to develop smart features and AI-based safety tools. Because when you think Harley Davidson, you obviously think cutting-edge artificial intelligence. Next thing you know, your bike's going to ask you how you're feeling mid-ride. Would you like to shift into comfort mode, Steve? No thanks. I just want to ride. And dealerships, they're getting a makeover too. Harley wants to evolve from just selling bikes to selling lifestyle experiences. Translation, you're not just buying a Harley. You're buying leather jackets, concerts, custom lattes, maybe even a yoga class. It's like Harley wants to be the Apple Store of motorcycles. Instead of grease and gears, now it's mood lighting and merch bundles. But perhaps the funniest part of this revival plan is Harley's sudden urge to listen more to their legacy riders. Oh, now you want to listen after building factories in every hemisphere but this one? After watching your stock nosedive and your brand loyalty get flushed down the drain? Sure. Let's set up a suggestion box and act surprised when someone writes, "Bring the damn bikes back to Milwaukee." They also say they're committed to ramping up American skilled labor again. Which sounds great until you ask how, when, where. No real numbers, no timelines, just vague promises and hopeful press releases. It's like saying you'll get back in shape while ordering dessert. Cool story, but we're going to need more than just trust us. Now here's the reality check. Harley's walking a tight rope right now. One side is tradition, the other is innovation. and below them, a pit full of confused investors and angry bikers. They're trying to blend the future with the past, but so far it feels more like a branding identity crisis than a business plan. Analysts have said flat out, Harley's emotional connection with American riders is its biggest asset. And right now, it's slipping. Every time they send another production line overseas or drop another silent EV promo, they chip away at the myth they spent over a century building. Trump, love him or hate him, boiled the whole situation down to one sentence. And it worked. Because behind all the corporate excuses and electrified spin cycles, there's a real cultural fracture happening. Unlike the 1980s when they were just trying to beat Japanese imports, now Harley's enemy is something way bigger. Global economics, tech disruption, and a fractured identity. They might not go bankrupt tomorrow, but if they keep alienating the people who made them legends in the first place, they won't need to. The brand won't collapse. It'll just fade into irrelevance. And for a name like Harley Davidson, that's a death sentence you can't fix with